is the first Friday of 2012. Hopefully, like I said, I'm wishing you all Happy New Year's, and it'll be a year of triumph and victory for you all around this land. And hope you get what you desire in 2012. And so, we'll kick off the show by talking about the good. The NFL season just wrapped up. Congratulations to the 12 teams that have made it to the playoffs. And by the way, if you want to call in the show, you may dial 323-962-1937. And if you're sitting with your cell phones and you can't get to a radio or a computer, you can listen to me on your cell phones by dialing 323-461-6676. We'll repeat those numbers throughout the show. Big shout out to the 12 teams that made it to the postseason. The Packers, Niners, Saints, Giants, Falcons, and Lions played probably the best football in the NFC this season. I'm talking in the bad section, I'll talk about some teams that probably would be there if certain things did not happen, but they didn't get it done. And in the AFC, a huge shout out to the Patriots, Ravens, and Steelers, who seem to always get to the postseason. Denver, unfortunately, backed their way in, but they're in. Houston's first time ever in the postseason, and the Bengalis, as I like to call them, having a surprising season of making to the postseason. And in fact, I'm willing to bet there's probably maybe less than 1% of the population in this country who put the Niners in the postseason, who put the Bengals in the postseason, and even the Lions, even though a lot of people felt that the Lions and the Texans were going to be the two upstart teams probably this year. They lived up to their hype a little bit and got into the postseason. I doubt anyone thought the Niners would get in, but I guarantee you, I'd love to find that person who said the Niners were going to win 13 games and have that person go to Vegas with me and, sit at a table somewhere hidden and tell me what the cards are and win me some money. Because nobody thought in a year with no off-season training, with a shortened preseason, a brand new coach, that they would be here. And not only that, the Bengals getting to the postseason, new quarterback, the saga with Carson Palmer, Marvin Lewis's job up in the air often. For them to make it to the postseason is quite extraordinary. And so the season has come to an end. Never have we had a season before where offense was so evident, as so dominant as it has been. Normally we have years in which the teams that are so offensive usually don't dominate because their defenses always seem to catch up to that offensive team in the postseason. But when you have a league where you have three quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, and Drew Brees throw for 5,000 yards, Eli Manning throw for 4,900 yards. Aaron Rodgers didn't even play the last game of the season, and he would have joined that elite group of 5,000-yard quarterbacks, if not the 4,900 club. It's pretty impressive. And though the running backs this year, I think, took a step backwards, we have a brand new faces of people who are on top of that list, with LaShawn McCoy of the Eagles and, Maurice Jones-Drew having the season he had down in Jacksonville. Obviously football has changed a lot. The rules of this game is, lost its mind in a lot of ways. It's taken football away from some of the people who like to play football physically. But still in all, if you like offensive football, you enjoyed this past season. The rookies, crop this year was pretty impressive. The receivers, A.J. Green, Julio Jones are playing on postseason teams. Andy Dalton is a quarterback as a rookie, as well as Mr. T.J. Yates is a quarterback as a rookie, quarterbacking the Houston Texans into the postseason. Cam Newton breaking all the rookie records for quarterbacks, with touchdowns and rushing yardage. The NFL future is bright. Just unfortunately, there's still that other side of it, which we'll talk about in the bad section. But in my opinion, there's a lot more good things that happen in the NFL this year than bad. And so we salute the 12 teams that made it. There's probably a good 16 teams that could have made it, which means that you had competition throughout the whole season. It came down to the final weekend for some of these races, and certain teams just didn't step up. One team was extremely unlucky, and unfortunately, the playoff field is set. And we'll be talking about the postseason matchups in our final 20 minutes of the show. They're all pretty good matchups, with the exception maybe of, the Steelers-Broncos game. But I remember a year ago when the Saints were going to play against the Seahawks, and everyone in the world thought it was going to be a blowout because the Saints, high-powered offense were going to go against this team that really had no business being there with a losing record. But they found a way to send the Saints home packing. So Chris Berman likes to say, he got this from Howard Cosell, that's why they play the games. We'll keep it on the football talk. As you guys all know, the bowl season is coming down to the final few games. Tonight is a very intriguing game between Kansas State and Arkansas. Both teams are offensively talented, defensively challenged. Both teams kind of been like the third child in the family to their conferences, so to speak. With, in the Big 12, all the talk is about Oklahoma and Oklahoma State this year. Meanwhile, Kansas State had a pretty good season. And of course, the SEC, Alabama and LSU have been the talk all year long. And, of course, Arkansas had a pretty good year. Both teams offensively have good quarterbacks who can run it and throw it. Arkansas was beset by a bad injury to start the season. We're losing their top running back from a year ago, Mr. Davis. But it did not stop them from having a productive year. Their only losses, I believe, were to LSU and Alabama. In Kansas State, they were in every game they played this year. They took Oklahoma State to a final drive, I believe, almost to overtime to lose that game. I mean, they've had a remarkable season, and tonight's game should be fun to watch. A lot of the bowl games have been exciting to watch. Obviously, the one that's leaving the worst taste in people's mouths is the game that most recently was played between Clemson and West Virginia, where West Virginia put up a 70 spot. In fact, West Virginia just scored again. Clemson could not stop them. And it was all based on the simple fact of one play. Had that gentleman not fumbled the ball at the goal line and have the ball go 99 yards the other way, who knows what the outcome would have been. But it's funny, we're getting all this offense out the way because, as I'll talk about in the bad section, the national championship game, most people feel, won't have any offense. And it won't be 6 yards in a cloud of dust because you can't have dust in a dome stadium. But all in all, the Oregon-Wisconsin game was outstanding. It went exactly the way most people thought it would go, with Oregon winning in a last possession type game. The same thing with the Oklahoma State-Stanford game. A lot of people thought the same situation. And speaking of which, I know this whole world is smitten by Andrew Luck and Mr. RG3. But if I'm drafting first overall pick, I'm taking Justin Blackmon from Oklahoma State. That guy's a beast. I mean, he's 6'3", 215 pounds, running a 40-yard dash from 4.3. He can't be tackled. And if he catches the ball and he's ahead of you, you're not catching him. He's physical. I mean, how many tackles did he break on one of those touchdown runs his second touchdown, I believe? I mean, you saw him have a tantrum on the sideline and demand the ball. And Coach Gundy said, okay, we'll give you the ball. And they scored 2 quick touchdowns, giving him the ball. He's got skills. Luck looked magnificent in that game, and so did Mr. Griffin. But if I'm starting a team, a guy who is ready to play right now, I'm sorry, Justin Blackmon is a freak. And we'll be back to talk more good. We're going to talk a little NBA, talk about a few other things in the good, and we have a whole lot of bad to talk about on 89.7 KLAS FM after this.
Hello.